With Drake's new album, For All the Dogs, getting its official cover with a release looming on the horizon, I'm noticing some things that are making me think the fans might not be too happy with this one. Of course, because it's a Drake project, it should be hyped up and highly anticipated regardless, purely because of his name, but with the inherent expectations that come with his work, I think a lot of people might be looking for too much out of Drake. I believe the vast majority of his fanbase will end up viewing this album as a letdown, so let's get into my reasoning for this. As I mentioned before, Drake is kind of living in the shadow of his past career. You could even say that his best work is at this point behind him, with albums like Nothing Was the Same, If You're Reading This It's Too Late, and Take Care basically dwarfing his newer projects like Certified Lover Boy, Scorpion, and honestly Nevermind. This is kind of just an unfortunate truth that comes with being such a highly acclaimed artist like Drake. You simply can't have every album you release be a straight 10 out of 10 with no skips. I'm not saying his newer work is bad. I'm personally a huge fan of all Drake eras, and I think there's a lot to appreciate within each project, but the general public opinion I see is that those more recent albums aren't as consistently good as his older stuff. Basically, the general opinion I see is that his old albums have very few skips, while his new albums have quite a lot of skips. I think the fact that most people's favorite Drake project is likely to be one of his older releases means that they will be preemptively set up to dislike a newer project like For All the Dogs. It's just natural as a human and a fan of music to expect the best out of an artist when they've clearly shown they can create music at a near flawless level. Drake didn't become as popular as he is because he's just a pretty good artist. He's clearly one of the all-time most successful rap artists and pioneers of the genre, and he absolutely should be held to his best standard. I wouldn't even think Drake considers this a bad thing because he probably also holds himself to this standard. So really, the first reason a lot of people will end up being disappointed in For All the Dogs is just a byproduct of how talented of an artist Drake is and has been his entire career. I think the main area of disappointment for the fans that will end up disliking For All the Dogs will be that Drake doesn't utilize his old sound or a classic sound that those types of fans are looking for. If nothing else, Drake as an artist is an innovator and he is always changing up his sound album after album after album. Obviously, they are all still under the same large umbrella of Drake's sound, but you can't say that he's stayed in the same lane his whole career. His ability to bring fans new listening experiences is a huge factor for why a lot of people like him as an artist, with this also meaning he's unlikely to tap into a past sound that a fan might like the most. For example, fans that hold Drake to his old project standards like Nothing Was the Same probably like how he sounded on that album more than how he sounds on any other project. Because of his ability to mold and innovate his sound, there's no way he would go back and copy what he was doing back then. If anything, he'd take some of the same concepts and twist them into a new way to fit how the modern music landscape works. But when those fans form those sound biases, basically only liking one section of what an artist does, it kind of sets them up to be automatically disappointed when the artist tries new things. Essentially, I believe fans will end up not enjoying a new project like For All the Dogs as much as they could because they are too far dug in on an old sound that Drake will never revisit. This is obviously assuming that a new project is truly good music, but I have a lot of faith in Drake as a consistently good artist, so I think it's a safe assumption that For All the Dogs will be a solid project, but it will likely not be without skips, which is unfortunately a common trend in Drake's recent albums. Projects like Scorpion and Certified Lover Boy are generally viewed as being pretty bloated projects. They definitely have tracks that stand out and are really good, but they also are plagued with songs that end up dragging the entire album experience down. This is in part due to the tracklist length, with both Scorpion and CLB having 25 and 21 song tracklists respectively. I understand that in today's music business, streaming numbers are a huge source of income for artists like Drake, but I really think at this point he has enough success and enough money to not have to do an insanely long track list. While he probably made a lot off both of those albums having long track lists, that aspect of the listening experience ended up making both albums a lot less enjoyable to get through. I think Drake will unfortunately probably continue to follow this trend, with For All the Dogs likely being at least 20 songs long, because that's kind of just the general pattern he's been going in with projects recently. I think a great surprise would be to see Drake do a short track list with like 12 songs max. Then he would be able to cut out a lot of the mid and filler songs so the project could be more tight and cohesive. While my previous reasons for why fans would be disappointed in For All the Dogs are not really amenable to change, the tracklist length absolutely is, and I don't think Drake realizes how much of a detriment it could be to the overall perception of the project to have it feel super bloated. Who knows, maybe I'll be wrong and he will go with a short track list, but I just really doubt it. I think Drake stands at a really interesting point in his career. He's been in the game for quite a while, his generally agreed upon best work is behind him, and he's found a mind-boggling level of success and fame along the way. Like I said before, I do have a lot of faith in Drake as a consistent artist, and he hardly ever drops mid-songs or albums, but because of fans' expectations for him, along with the recent trend of long and bloated track lists, this will unfortunately result in a lot of people feeling let down with For All the Dogs. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this, and let me know in the comments if you think Drake will do a long track list for this new album like he did with Scorpion and CLB.